In this presentation, we'll be looking at the confessor. Now, the confessor is a technical term for the minister of confession or penance and reconciliation. The minister of confession ordinarily is the priest or the bishop. There is no extraordinary minister of confession. So in an extraordinary circumstance, like a danger of death situation, no one except for a priest or a bishop can hear confession and absolve from sins. No deacon, no layperson, no person without association with Christianity. It must be a priest or bishop. Now, in order to understand this, we kind of have to understand power versus faculty. So every priest and bishop, by virtue of their ordination, which is a permanent effect in the soul, an indelible mark upon the soul, all priests and bishops have the power to forgive sin. However, they must work in concert or in relationship with their bishop or pope. And so all priests then need the faculty, that is, the authority to hear confessions and actually function as a priest. This is usually granted at ordination, but it can be taken away or suspended. In fact, when we hear of priests that are accused of sexual abuse, like Theodore McCarrick, who are then stripped of their clerical state, they don't cease being priests because they still have the power to be a priest. What they've actually lost is the faculty. They've lost the authority by their bishop or the pope to actually function as a priest. That's important to know because if someone were in danger of death and Theodore McCarrick is the only priest nearby, he has the power and the obligation to hear someone's confession and forgive their sins in a danger of death situation, because he still has the permanent power to forgive sins via holy orders, which effects permanently in the life of the person. Now, why confess to a person? One of the key reasons is because of the image of reconciliation with the church as well. The bishop has always been seen as the visible head and the symbol of the church's unity. Now, priests are collaborators with the bishop and with the pope. And so when we confess our sins to the priest, we are, in a sense, not just confessing to God, but we're also confessing to the church that we might be reconciled to the church with whom we have been separated or from whom we've been separated due to our sin. Now, priests and bishops have some duties and responsibilities because of this sacrament. First of all, because it's important to have the punishment of mortal sin, eternal damnation, removed as soon as possible, a priest must make himself available when reasonably requested for confession. Priests are also not to be seen as the master of God's mercy, rather its servant. God is served by the priest. The priests there stand underneath God to dispense his mercy, and they are also at the mercy of the individual who is receiving the sacrament because they're there to dispense grace. And finally, the priest is bound to secrecy under penalty of excommunication. Should he ever reveal the identity of the penitent or the content of a confession, he would be automatically excommunicated and can only be reconciled to the church by the Pope himself. And finally, what about extraordinary circumstances like danger of death? So we can divide these into two types. First, what if there's relatively few people, meaning a priest could hear standard confessions in private and absolve them? Well, a priest would do that. And even a priest without the faculty to function as a priest could do this. But what if there's a lot of people, like say a large group of people that are in danger of death imminently, and there's no time to hear everyone's confession individually? A priest or bishop could absolve everyone in his presence of their sins without hearing a confession, and should they all die, they would be forgiven. However, if they were to make it through that situation alive, then it would be expected that they would then go and make a standard confession in private of those sins in order for that absolution to be effective.